You're listening to the Journey to Launch podcast, an updated conversation with Carmen Perez on losing her income, but how she's still staying positive and seeing the opportunities in the obstacles. Okay, so I just had to have Carmen back on the podcast. Carmen, hi, Carmen.
Hey, everyone.
So if you're up to date on Journey to Launch podcast episodes, then you may have heard Carmen on this week of the podcast already. She's on episode 152, and we recorded that conversation, a while ago, right? But things have changed a lot for everyone, and especially just your situation since we recorded the episode. I mean, part of your main thing, and I want you to kind of talk about it just in case there are people who did not get a chance to listen to that episode first, and maybe they're listening to this one, about like what you were able to do. Because part of what I loved about your story, what I still love about your story, is the fact that you pivoted from like this corporate career into coding. Like, you went to coding boot camp and you really pivoted and did something I think amazing, because so many people have dreams of following like just their heart and what they really want to do, and you did that. But since we recorded that conversation, a lot has changed for you, for your employment wise and financially. And so I want to talk about all that, because I know people listening, watching this right now are just like, yeah, that's happening to me. Yeah. And I want to hear from someone who's going through it and how they're getting through it. So just again, welcome to the podcast, Carmen.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Okay. So can you just give us a quick kind of background on your story? If you can like distill it down into like a couple minutes of like where you came from before you started coding and what you're able to do financially.
I will give this short, quick, and dirty 60-second version of that. So quickly, I had terrible credit. I got sued for my student loans back in 2016. I didn't have any money saved. I started on this financial journey to become debt-free, started budgeting, paying down debt, and that led me to being able to be debt-free by 2018. So I was able to pay off $57,000 worth of debt in 2 years and 9 months. I was working in finance during that time, making really good money. And then after all of my debt was cleared out, I said, hey, now I can pivot. I can get out of this industry. I love personal finance, but working in the finance industry can be very taxing. So I was looking for other avenues, other things that really sparked my interest, things that I wanted to do. And coding definitely seemed like one of them. So my next goal after becoming debt-free and just putting all that terrible stuff behind me, girl, my credit went up. Everything went up. We were able to buy a home, all this stuff, right? So we started saving. Well, I started saving towards being able to basically like a quit my job fund. So I could pursue this coding career, which I thought and still think is a very viable industry, especially just the tech field period. That's where everything is moving towards. So I saw the writing on the wall and wanted to just dive in deep into the deep end into tech. So I made that transition from finance, paying off all that debt, saving a bunch of money over the course of a year to be able to quit my job last year in September of 2019. And mind you, a year before that, I had written it down on paper that I wanted to quit my job by 2019, and that happened.
Yeah.
Then I went into coding. I went to a coding boot camp. That was 3 months of intensive coding nonstop, over 40 hours every week, coding, learning a full front-end kind of web stack, becoming a full stack developer. After that process was done, I graduated in December of 2019 and landed a job before I had graduated with a tech startup, and started working for them. That leads us to present day.
Yeah, by the way, everyone, if you really want to hear the background to Carmen's story, like she just went through a lot in the last couple minutes, but all real great points and like valleys and highs like about her story. You can hear the previous episode, episode 152. So journeytolaunch.com/episode 152 if you have not heard that yet. Okay, so now that brings us to today. So since we recorded our conversation, we had the coronavirus pandemic, everything, that's happened. We haven't officially hit a recession or anything, but stock market has gone crazy, lots of runs, lots of declines, and your job situation has changed immensely. So let's talk about where you are currently.
Yes. So my company, again, it was a tech startup, a really cool company that supported the production industry as far as film is concerned, like film, TV, any of that. So basically what my company does is we created this app basically as a job platform for anyone that's on the production crew side of these large films, right? Well, what's shut down? The entire economy, including filming any movies. Hollywood has really gotten hit by this, outside of all the stuff that they can put on reruns and all that jazz. But this industry has really, really gotten hit. We can't, have any productions going on. People can't go to set. You can't have extras in these large groups, obviously. So that's really affected the app that we are trying to build out to be able to get people to work. So March 20th was the last day that I've actually worked. We got a call from our CEO saying we ran out of money. That was it.
Right. And so it changed quickly. And it's kind of just, no one could have predicted how fast and how many and how everyone would be impacted. Like every industry, like no matter where you work, where you are in the world, like you are being impacted by what's going on. And so I want to hear from you, like how you've handled it, right? So you have not gotten paid since March 20th.
Yeah.
And how have you financially, like how you prepared or have been withstanding what's been going on? Because you still got bills to pay. You have a mortgage now, right? You and your wife, like how is that working? Like how are you able to navigate this right now?
Yeah, so it's been challenging, like to be straight up. I think like the first couple of weeks it was tough because I'm going from a very stable industry, and granted, tech is a very stable industry. And I think that anybody that wants to go into a coding boot camp or get a CS degree, it's going to pay off astronomically. It's a great investment. And I still think that, but I'm going from this finance position where I was making good money and it was stable and I had good healthcare and all that stuff to jumping ship and going into coding. And the first couple of weeks of like not having or getting paid or not working, I'm like, did I make the right decision? Did I do this at the wrong time? Like me and my wife had just purchased a car in cash, $12,000. And now look, I'm like out of work. And I obviously am part of the income that comes into this household. So I was in a funk for the first couple of weeks just because it seemed like, well, did I make a mistake? I'm too junior in this. So it's been tough to like try to apply for jobs and get jobs because the first tech job is just, it's no industry secret here that it's hard to land your first tech job. And once you get your foot through the door, you're fine. But it's tough. And here I am 3 months into a job and then don't have it anymore. And now I'm trying to apply to other companies and they're like, well, what is going on? She's only been here for 3 months.
Right.
So it's been like the first couple of weeks, it was very challenging. It was tough. It was dealing with that. Like, well, did we make a mistake with paying cash for a car when we didn't see this and no one saw this coming? My boss or who owned the company didn't. No one saw this company.
Yeah.
Coming. So my headspace was a little tough. The first couple of weeks, I was a hot mess, just kind of in and out. I think a lot of people were. And then I finally found a groove where I was just getting my mental headspace like back together as far as like, you didn't make a mistake. You signed up for this. It's a great industry to be in. You can utilize this time to like hone in on your craft, really start understanding some of these harder technical problems that you will face down the road as far as trying to get into these bigger companies like a Facebook or a Google. So I took the time to like really, I've been studying algorithms. I've been diving deeper into code. I've been working on little project codes, just trying to use my time as best as possible right now.
Okay. And here's the thing. I feel like there are different stages for a lot of people, right? Going through this. And some people stay in stages longer than others, right? Because everyone has their own like coping mechanisms. But I do feel like probably for a lot of people, even if, especially if you lost your job or lost your income, but your life changed so much that there's a bit of a grieving process of like what, like of a life that, you thought you had planned out, or maybe
Right.
that, you thought was secure. And now it's like, wait a second, this is not how I thought things would be. People talk about emergency funds and all this, but a lot of times you don't really get into a real emergency. Like now is a real,
Right.
like this is a real emergency where emergency funds matter.
Yes.
And so I think for some people listening, they may still be in that kind of state of grieving and just like self-doubt and being scared, because a lot of it is mental, right? Because even though because you could still have like, you can still have money in the bank and still feel like,
Oh, 100%.
because, you know, let's say you do have an emergency fund. You might think, well, what if nothing changes for the next year? Because I mean, most people's emergency funds aren't indefinite. Like they won't last forever. So the fear could still be, what is it enough? Like, how long could this last? What if something else happens? Much worse if you don't even have an emergency fund.
Right.
So I figure, like, because you're already very financially like astute. So I'm sure you still had some financial things in place, but you still felt the way you felt. So I'm saying all this to say that a lot of people, like, who are feeling a bit like, oh my gosh, did they make a mistake? Like everything they're looking back, like, was this a mistake? How, like, should I have done this differently? That even people, if you had your finances together and you thought you had to figure it out, are going through this and feeling a sense of, oh my gosh. So if you're feeling that now, right, it's like, that's a total normal feeling. You are not alone.
No, 100%. And I mean, even to the process of like having to file for unemployment and navigating that for the first time, like I would have never in a million years thought that I'd be trying to file for unemployment. And here I found myself. I think a lot of people are doing a lot of things for the first time during this pandemic. And it's kind of like nobody knows how to do it. So you're all like learning together. And this was the first time, I mean, there's been plenty of people before me that have filed for unemployment, but this is the first time I think that we've seen it in such volumes that, you know, I wasn't sure if I could get through on the phone line. So I spent literally, and people don't have the luxury of doing this. Thank God we have a little money saved. I filed my taxes. We actually got a tax return from that. Those are our lifelines right now. My wife was working and hustling and bringing in income for her business because it's also been affected. She's a personal trainer, and now she's had to transition everything to online to try to make that work, and she's doing a phenomenal job. But even like filing for unemployment in New York City, I was on the phone from like whenever the lines opened from 8 a.m. one day till 4 something. I had called over 200 times, Jamila, over 200 times in one day to get through just to answer a couple of questions. And then we were done. 3 weeks later in the mail, I got a notice saying, hey, we need you to send your pay stub so we can go ahead and try to process this. And it's like, are you kidding? I thought this was handled. We're good to go. So I sent off my pay stubs last week, and I just posted on my Instagram. Yesterday, they came back to me in the mail saying I didn't have enough postage on the actual pay stubs to send them out.
Oh my gosh.
I was down like 30 cents to be able to send them out. So my process now, I'm going on week 7 with no pay. And my claim has not been processed yet by the unemployment office or Department of Labor.
And so many people are going through that. And it's interesting because when they like have these big headlines about how many people have filed, and it's always an astronomical number. I'm like, yeah, that's how many people were able to get through and approved. Right. But there are like millions and millions of people who are like you, or it has not been approved yet. And once that all gets in the system, like the numbers will be crazy. So in terms of, okay. And one thing you did mention, which I think, again, it's just like a mental gymnastics kind of thing is that you're doing now still, is you're still looking for opportunities, right? So this is your situation, but you're still looking for opportunities. You're still sharpening your skill sets, which is amazing, right? Like, I mean, because people at home right now who maybe have time, and I know everyone's time, like balance is different depending on your at home, right? Like I think, especially as a mom myself, you may hear my kids in the background. It's just like, it's hard. Like I wish there was a million things I can do right now, but it's just like, I'm just exhausted after homeschooling or teaching them online for the morning, where I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. Yeah. But if you do have the capacity, now is a good time to sharpen a skill set, to learn. There's so many places offering, low cost or even free classes or things that you can take advantage of. So it seems like you've been doing that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that, and it's been tough too. I could completely understand and feel so much sympathy towards, the mom or the dad that has to be with the kid. Like you guys are trading off and trying to figure this out, trying to carve out time because I have a lot of
still work
and try to keep your job. A lot of my friends that have children are trying to deal with that because they're like, look, I'm trying not to get fired. And they have their kid running on the Zoom meetings and all that stuff. And it's just a part of life. And I think people have way more understanding. It's not coming across unprofessional. This is just the reality of it. Right. And people got to adjust. But yeah, I've been doing it online, and, you know, we got a new puppy right when this had happened. So I'm not saying that's the equivalent of a child, but I mean, it's been very disruptive. I will say that. And we're trying to figure that process out. So even with doing stuff online, it has to be a good day for me. I can't say it's been consistent. The first 2 weeks, I am usually a very ambitious person, but my headspace was all over the map. I think just a lot of things felt very uncertain. And for whatever reason, I've been able to pivot and have this better or change the way that I'm framing things now. It's just like, well, this is an opportunity for me to seize X, the thing that I can control, right? I can't control the mail coming back to me. I can't control the process time for unemployment. I can't control any of that. And I can't stress about it because it's not healthy for me. The first couple of weeks I wasn't sleeping well. It was a bunch of stuff. So now I'm just trying to control and frame like what I can do and be happy about that. And even like running, I never used to run. I didn't like to run. And now I go outside and I'm like, okay, I need to think of this as like something that is enjoyable and that I want to do and that I get to do and have the opportunity to do it. I don't know. That's my ramble.
No, it's amazing because it's all about framing and what you can control. So there's so many things outside of our control and things that we once thought we had control over that we don't.
Right.
And so the best thing you can do for yourself is to take back or control the things you can. And really a lot of that is your perspective and how you frame things and how you say things and how you feel and being really gentle with yourself. Even the productivity stuff. If you can't be as productive as maybe you see someone else online being, or, you know, a friend who has a different situation than you, like, it's okay. Like, you have to give yourself that grace.
Yes.
Because beating yourself up only creates this like really vicious cycle with stuff. So I think that is going to be key for a lot of people is how can you frame this as an opportunity, right? Now we're not like saying if you don't frame it as an opportunity, you're failing, but right. Just like if you can switch and pivot, because you know, a lot of people in the last downturn, I know it was for a different situation. We never experienced something like this before. But like in 2008 with that recession, like a lot of businesses, a lot of people were able to like come out of there, like, and a lot of millionaires were made in that time period.
Right.
So, you know, I think this is a part of our lives right now where we can control the narrative that we tell ourselves about what we want to be from this. Whether it's just like, I just want to survive and like the kids be alive at the end of this, like that is fine. And it may be, you know what, I've had all these ideas and things I've been interested in. So maybe I can, you know, do that. So I think I just love the mindset part of it. It's really huge right now for people.
And it depends on the day. Like I thought I was going to bust all this stuff out because again, I'm so ambitious and I'm always like, if I'm the person, if I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm failing, and that's where I don't give myself the grace. But this period has definitely allowed me to learn more about myself and back up and say, hey, like, if you can't do it today, sis, you can't do it. So, you know, tomorrow, let's aim for it. And if it doesn't happen, that's cool. If you're sitting on the couch binging, you know, Netflix. So it's been fine with me. And it's like a big thing too, for anybody that wants to learn how to code during this time. Just wanted to, before I forget, the thing that I've been using online is freecodecamp.org. And you can get certificates through there. If you do, they have 300-hour courses. And these are for people like that were looking to switch careers. I've seen parents do blogs on the fact that they were, you know, waking up at 4:30 before work. This is all before all this happened, doing a couple hours and then leaving for work and then coming home doing that, whatever, but they would knock it out over, you know, a year and a half. So that's a great resource. Outside of like Harvard offering all these free courses, MIT offering it's like their open source, and this is just not coding specific, but they have all kinds of good stuff on their website as well.
Okay, I'm gonna get all those like links again for these show notes, because I think again it's a really good time for people if you've been thinking about something. If you're not commuting, if you're, you know, for people who are at home and you have the time, you can like do some of this work coding. So freecodecamp.org will definitely link to that. And in your opinion, like coding, right? So your job was impacted by this downturn, but part of that was because of the industry, like you're in coding, but because the app you're supporting supports people who are like directly like cannot work.
Right.
So in your opinion, the future of coding, because there are a lot of people who may be listening like, maybe I do want to like start like this side kind of hustle or thing. and learn how to code so I can pivot. Do you think that coding is still a viable career? And your other coding friends, how have their careers been impacted by this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think 100%, like this is not, thankfully, my company has hopefully gotten the PPP. And for those of you on the listening, it's the payment protection program. So it's like the SBA loan that's given out, to small businesses to be able to kind of float their payroll. So hopefully that goes through and we get that money and we can go back to work for at least 60 more days and I can at least get some type of income. But outside of that, I think coding in general is a great industry because look at what we're leaning on so heavily during this time. The thing that we have all gone to, which, it's like social media, we're more connected now than ever, but we're very disconnected behind the scenes. It is allowing us to connect still with friends and family while all this stuff is going on. And I think like that just shows and technology has always been on the up and up, but now more than ever, this pandemic is going to change the way a lot of us do things going forward. Businesses, period. This is the contingency plan. All of these backup centers that people haven't been able to use because they were like, oh, if there's a natural disaster, we could just send them here. But now we got to send them home. Like this is the prime example of that business continuity planning. So tech, I think, is 1,000% here to stay. There's going to be so much crazy stuff that comes out of this as far as like innovation. And it's just a wave that I think a lot of people need to hop on if they have any interest in doing it.
Yeah, like the ideas, right? Like think about, when businesses start because they're here to provide solution. And so you being home, maybe not having to run around as much as you had to in your life before, if you can stay home, you are probably realizing a lot of gaps in technology or in your own life where you're just like, why haven't they thought of this that you can actually think of or, maybe do. So I think like you said, I'm glad you mentioned that, like, and a lot of the companies that were started in the last recession were tech companies, like were ways in which people like could make things easier, life more streamlined. And so to think that like, there's even more ways, like more innovation to come in the world is amazing. And one thing I want to like charge people with, I read this somewhere, because some people say, well, I have this idea, so this is not just coding, but this is just any idea you have. And they're like, well, it's been done before, but it hasn't been done by you. Right. That's the difference. Like everything has been done. Personal finance, how many ways can we say you need a budget?
Save more money, you need a budget.
Money, right? Like it's not like fine, but it's like you, the person, like that's the identifying or differentiating factor. So if you have an idea, I think you have to go out and try to like be a Bill Gates and like, start a $1 billion company, but you just never know. So in terms of like for people listening, so I actually had someone who's in the Money Launch Club. So that's my membership community. Sheridan, she actually had posted that she was fine, or she thought she was fine with her job, but they just announced that they are going to start laying people off. So she's a little concerned now because, she wasn't really maybe thinking about like her getting laid off. But now that they made this announcement, she's more on the support staff. So, kind of like you in terms of kind of a first employees in, like sometimes that's the first employees out.
Yeah.
And what should she or someone like her be doing right now to maybe help them withstand or prepare if there is a layoff for her? What advice?
I think to like start tuning up that resume, like start freshening it up, make sure at work you're locking down all the projects that you've worked on, everything you can contributed to, anything that's going to add value to your resume. Start gearing that up, getting it together, jotting down your notes, making sure you have them at home so you can start freshening up that resume. 1. 2, start applying to jobs. I am like such a conservative, like, when it comes to like, how do I put it? When it comes to being pessimistic or optimistic, I'm like right in the middle of the realistic. Like if it's even on the horizon or there's whisperings of it, just take the conservative approach and act as if this job's going away. And I hate to put that kind of in the universe, but I always look at it like this is not secure. I need to try to secure the next thing as soon as possible. So start applying to jobs immediately. if you get offers or you get interviews, fine, entertain them. If you feel like, okay, I was overreacting, like you don't have to, go forward in the job process, but at least start getting your name out there and your resume out there. 3, cut down on that spending immediately. And a lot of us can't really spend other than online right now, and on groceries. So I think like just cutting back on that and being smart about that, is key. And then also if she sees that her income is probably if this layoff is going to come sooner rather than later, I would start calling lenders and just saying like, hey, this might be coming down the pipeline. Like how far in advance do I have to give you notice? How does this program work? What's the processing time? Like start getting all of that information, just so she's prepared as possible, to be able to combat this. And then just start looking for other avenues. And to be very honest,
yeah,
if you think you are going to get a tax refund, go ahead and submit those taxes. Just get it
right.
done.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you maybe had plans, because and here's another thing that's happening for a lot of people: goals are changing, or you thought before all this happened, oh, I'm gonna pay down debt aggressively. You're gonna do all these things, and then now you maybe want to be more conservative on that approach and keep more cash on hand. So if you did get a refund or the stimulus check or something where you would have planned to pay down debt, I know that is very much still important for you, but it may make more sense right now, like you said, call your lenders, talk about putting things on hold and then saving that money, because you may need that cash on hand. And then the other thing that you said, which I think there's a misconception that companies are not hiring, and there are some companies that are just not doing anything in hiring, but there actually are a lot of companies hiring. So get your LinkedIn profile together.
Get those recommendations from your coworkers.
Yes.
Get all of those.
Yes. So I think these are things where don't let maybe what your perception is, just because your company is shutting down or not maybe hiring, doesn't mean other companies aren't. So
right.
Just stay in the know of that.
100%.
So for you going forward, right? Like how has your, like you said, I'm similar to you where I work from home anyway. So my kind of personal expenses hasn't changed that much, but our grocery bill has gone up. But then we haven't been going out to eat.
Right.
And what else has gone? Our liquor expense has gone up, but we're not going out to bars. So that's it works out to be cheaper. What else? So the other thing that happened is, so my middle son, he was in preschool, so we don't have to pay that expense.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, and I'm just throwing out ideas for people or things that probably maybe someone can relate to. My oldest son was in karate class and it was great, but now it switched to online, which if he was in love with karate would work for him to still do it online, but he's only 5. And I'm not going to fight with you to do online karate class.
Right.
So we were able to cut that expense. Right. And that was almost $80 expense a month. So there's been ways that we've been also in our household, we've been able to trim back and kind of let's try to see how we can keep our expenses down. For you guys, how have you've been pivoting with the changes of your income, and then any other tips for people listening with that?
Yeah, it's been nice actually. So our commuting costs have gone to zero, where I was commuting. Well, we both were commuting into the city, and this doesn't apply to obviously a lot of people, but the metro or the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, it's really expensive to commute. I was spending $700 a month to get into the city just for all of my transportation. So that's gone down. Gym memberships out the window. That's closed.
Yeah, for me too.
That's that's been saved. Like you said, the liquor and and food expensive have gone up. But I'm trying to think of what else. There's actually, man, I can't. Why am I drawing a blank here now? Because.
But I think just that, and you could think about maybe what you're going to say. I think for a lot of people too, it's just if you are, even if your income has not changed that much, but you just need to prepare for the unpreparable at this point, because you just never know, to look at your expenses. I know part of me felt there's this thing, right? You want to support, I want to support my local businesses and restaurants that I went to before, right? So it's not like I'm, want to recoil and, never spend with them again, because then when everything's back to normal, quote unquote, I want them to be open. Same thing with the karate place that, like they're a small business. Like I want them to stay open. And even the gym, like it's a chain, but you want them to be there when you get back. So you kind of want to, so part of me felt guilty about canceling some of that stuff because I was like, well, like, or not going out to, like not doing as much takeout. But I'm just like, our income has been impacted, and me as an entrepreneur, I'm a little bit by this so far. I'm hoping it will, not obviously stay this way forever. But I do think there's something to be said for, yes, you want to support your local businesses and things, but you also need to make sure you're looking out or taking care of home and self first. I just thought that was interesting because it did take me a little while with the karate thing because I was like, but what about them? But I was like, wait, we actually need this money right now ourselves.
No, it's tough. That's a challenge too. I feel like with any of my subscription stuff. So that's what I was going to say. Like I cut like 4 or 5 like subscriptions for my business and all this stuff. And it gave me like, it freed up $50 a month. And the last 2 subscriptions is Netflix that I have, which that's still riding out. We're rocking with Netflix. And then I do like a child sponsor, which that has resounding impacts in my head if I'm affecting somebody on the other end or the other side of the world if I cancel this. So I'm closer to that, I think. But even like if it's a subscription, and I mean, I hate to say it, they're bigger businesses, local businesses, I 100% agree with you. But like my subscription stuff, I canceled. Like I went through the inventory, things that I could put on hold or don't need right now.
Yeah. And you know what? It's going to be different for everyone. I do want to say that. So like the Netflix thing for us, even just like little things where maybe for someone else, like that wouldn't have been a big deal, right? Like if my son was in love with karate and even if we had our situation was drastically changed the way it is, then we'd probably find a way to make it work just because like, so like that happiness factor, that peace of mind, like, for you supporting, the child overseas. So there are going to be some things in your budget that you really want to look at as like from a value perspective of how much joy, how much value does this bring me? Because part of this too is just like our whole lives have been disrupted. And so there's a lot of mental and emotional things happening for people right now. And so to keep that together for yourself, like I think is really important. And so if it does take like, listen, spending money still on the little things that you can spend money on because it makes you feel good, it keeps you educated, keeps you connected, then do that. Just because you hear like me say it or someone else say we did this or we canceled this, doesn't mean you need to if it helps with your peace of mind or your learning or whatever part of the process of your journey you're in.
Right. And then too, like if it's too hard to make the cut, just gradually like list out all of your things and put like the least, like the thing that can go the first, and then down to the bottom of like, this is sacred, and start checking them off like that, slowly but surely. Like Netflix is next on the list. If I have to like cancel that, I'm going to cancel Netflix. The child sponsor like is down at the bottom. Like that can't go anywhere unless like I absolutely need that money every month to be putting to X, Y, and Z. And my income has been impacted, so I think like even looking at it like that, and you don't have to rip off the Band-Aid if that's something like you feel okay with your income now and you do know that you need to cut some stuff. I would even prioritize like the list saying like the stuff that can just go instantly. Like I had a Canva account that could have gone, like that was fine. I have Photoshop. I have 2 things. Why do I need both?
Yeah.
So I cut a lot of different things that were kind of redundant, I would say.
Yeah, no, this is, and I think again, so great for people just when they're thinking about, because you often hear, oh, cut your expenses, but I think it's helpful for people to see like, okay, what expenses? Like, let's talk through it a little bit.
And you don't have to do it all at one time.
Right. I like the whole band. Like you don't have to rip. Some people operate better with ripping the Band-Aid, like just cancel everything kind of thing. But some people are just like, all right, I can't do that. That's too much of a shock to my lifestyle and mental health or whatever. So, all right, Carmen, I am so thankful that you came back on and gave us an update about what's been going on with you. I really hope that like, things come through for your current job or whatever your situation is. I think, the last time we spoke, you talked about, you had like these like things that happened in your life. And I said to you, like, I feel like it all led you like to be in the position of where you are today. So it all like worked out. And I still believe that. Like, I feel like because you were probably going to create like the next, I don't know, some business. I feel like you're going to like create some tech business while you're doing this because you have so many ideas and you're so smart and motivated. But even if you don't, I'm just saying that I think that you are in the position right now to do great things and to just let things unfold for you. So I'm wishing you the best on your journey.
Thank you so much, Jamila. Yeah, and your advice from the podcast that we did, it really sat with me. Like, I got off the call and I was talking to my wife and I was like, like this, she made a really good point. Like, if it wasn't for finance, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So no, I definitely appreciate it. And to be honest, like, for whatever reason, I'm at such peace. And I think I would be in a different spot had I had been in the finance industry now and doing all this work from home. I don't know. It's hard to explain. So I am much better today. I'm taking it day by day. I'm good. My mental health is good today. And I don't regret making the jump at all. So
awesome. Okay. So tell people where they can find you, follow you on your journey, what's going on, and keep up to date with you.
Yes. So you can follow me on all things at Make Real Sense, like change. So CENTS. So at makerealsense.com. That's my blog. You can follow me on Instagram. My approach is like, I really like to try to make light of money because sometimes it can be a little boring. So I'll have some humor on my page, but also offer some great resources for you guys to look at that can benefit you as well. Yeah. I'm on Twitter and Facebook. But again, all of that is at Make Real Sense. So you can either type that in for any of the social media or visit my blog.
And I will make sure I link all that in the episode show notes. Thank you so much again, Carmen, for coming on, updating us. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Jamila. Bye.